So without further ado, I'm actually going to have them start. I gave a little bio, but I want them to kind of touch on a little bit more about yourself and kind of how you got started into the career. Yeah, I'm going to go down the row.
Okay, hi everyone, good morning. Very happy to be here. So I am Nicole Asinugo. How did I start? Like Folu, I'm also a lawyer, but absconded very quickly. I started writing as a freelance writer, started a magazine with friends, and very quickly, early on, realized that that was the path for me. After that, I joined an advertising agency and started copywriting. And since then, I've been in the creative space. And so I've written stories for countries. I've written stories for organizations. I live script television. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Hello, everyone. My name is Folu. I started off life as a lawyer. I'm back in chambers now, also as a consultant associate. But in between, I realized very quickly how important it is to shape the way the world views not just me, but people that look like me and come from where I come from. I think Nicole would definitely agree that when you grow up across borders, people say really silly things like, oh, you're so different for a Nigerian. How many do you know? Do you know the size of my country? And so honestly, I'm probably like a mini dictator in disguise. I understand the power of propaganda, so I decided to get involved in radio, television, and film. I had a full agenda. I started off with radio. I pitched myself to Beat FM. Did you say I should leave? He pushed me from the place. But eventually, I did the MTV-based VJ search. Shout out to the MTV crew in the building. I see some of the guys here. And MTV also said no, so I didn't win that either. And I think it's very important to talk about how you fail a lot before you succeed. People only see the success stories. So I didn't win the VJ search either. But by creating the idea for a travel show that I wanted to put on radio and online, I pitched it again to some more people. Kenya Airways said, get away, you haven't done anything. But eventually a radio station, Inspiration, hired me. And then I did that for a bit. Then eventually I got on in Dani TV. Then after that, I decided to continue film. Then, I mean, fast forward, many jobs, many iterations later, I am now working consistently across all those platforms. So yeah, that's me.
Hi, everyone. Dami Elebe. How did I start? That's a tough one. Okay, it's not so tough. I wanted to write a book while I was studying advertising and art, and I realized very quickly by chapter 2 that my vocabulary was not the best, and I should have known because English was never my best subject. I don't even know, how did I become a writer when English is not my best subject? But I enjoyed dialogue so much, so I decided to figure out what I can do to write dialogue, and scripting came up, so I decided to teach myself how to script by reading scripts of my favorite films. I got the opportunity to develop and write Skinny Girl in Transit, and yeah, that was how I started writing, and that was how I got an opportunity. And now I have my own production company, and yeah.
Good afternoon. Happy to be here. How did I start? I have a degree in economics from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Tech, Kumasi. Did not do so well in school. Yeah, came out, joined an ad agency, and that's when I actually knew that I wanted to be a creative, or I was a creative. I just didn't realize it, because when you're young, you're very unaware. And I interned at an ad agency and found my calling. Somewhere along the line, I was interested in creating content because, I mean, Instagram just came out, and I was like, I could do this. And then I started doing it. Luckily for me, the environment I was in, my workspace was very helpful. It was a creative space, so it was very helpful. And at some point, I hit a stumbling block because my content was so niche. There was a point I couldn't break through, so along came Big Brother, and I took advantage of that platform and had a plan, and got in, did what I wanted to do, came out and focused, and here we are today.
I was actually born in the US, but I grew up here in Nigeria, in Ibadan boy. And but I left the US in 1994, and anyway, I'm back now. How did I get into the business? See, I've always loved like books. When growing up, I read a lot because in my house there's 6 girls and me, and they would all do their thing, and I would be by myself. So I read books, and so I used to create all these worlds like in my head. And my dad would always say, "You this boy, come to life, Joe. What's your problem?" Anyway, it took me a while to figure out what exactly it was I wanted to do. I knew a few things about myself. I loved people. I was a good salesperson. I knew how to talk, and I'm very good at connecting with people. And so in 2007, I moved to LA. I had $200 in my bank account. I had a place to live for a week, and I'm like, I am going to be an agent. And 16 years later, I got a job at the mailroom at the company that I work at now, and I was an assistant for 2.5 years, and then I got promoted to agent. So I've been an agent for 13 years, and I am living my dream because I get to help people like connect the artistry with business, and so that's my story.
So one of my questions to all of the panelists, but I'm going to give it directly to Dami. What significant changes are currently occurring within African TV? Like, what changes have you seen experiencing writing African TV, and how does it feel different in these rooms?
I think one of the major differences is understanding that there's so many different genres now that people can explore, and also understanding that we don't necessarily need to download what is happening in other places. I think the most important thing for me is showcasing, Africa, or should I say Nigeria? I'll say Africa because I've done a South African show as well. I'll say one of the most important things is showcasing the continent in its best possible light, as well as its worst. So basically in its original light. I think, like Folu and, Nicole, or any one of us who has schooled in a different country, you have a situation whereby there's a stereotype and there's this false knowledge about what it is to be Nigerian or African, because I won't lie to you, I went to school in Tennessee, and that is like, yeah, I know. I went to school in Tennessee, and when I first started going to the US, New York was my place of summer. And then imagine me going to Tennessee, where it's just like, what?
It's a culture shock.
But then I have to sit down with people asking me, so do y'all have cars? And it's like, what?
Right.
So the opportunity for us to be able to rewrite what the continent is in the glam or hood or whatever version it is, but to give it the originality so that none of us are looking like the odd ones out, because we really aren't. There are a lot of people like us, and there are a lot of people that would be able to learn how to even be better and be more exposed if we're able to showcase the different works of life. Like I was saying in my class this morning, there were so many different things at the same time, so many different walks of life. And I think right now, TV is trying to do that, because if I'm able to teach somebody that some schools in Nigeria have lockers, I'm super duper happy with myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, Nicole, how does that shape your storytelling?
That's a really good question that I've never thought about before. I think it's a combination, because the viewers, the audience watching these shows, obviously they dictate the things that the streamers are looking for. because if you have really high numbers, then the streamers are going to want to hone into the thing that has those views. So I think audiences and what they're watching is very, very important. But I do think that we're reaching this place where hits and views are not all there is, especially when it comes to television content. Yeah. So, or film content. So what you would have with, Netflix's kind of not departure, but whatever they want to call it, whatever they're calling it, their pause or whatever. We have films on Netflix or TV shows on Netflix that are not very good, but then they would be like top 10. And they'll be like, oh, those were our highest numbers. But then they're not great, so you're not getting that follow back, and you're not getting that follow through, and you're not getting those subscriptions. They don't have rewatch value. So I think we're moving to a place where people are looking for more. People are looking for deeper content. So the writers that will stand the test of time, if you will, are the writers that are able to tap into that authenticity. And I think that's why ultimately a show like Far From Home did really well, because beyond the lockers and the cheerleaders, we saw like representations of ourselves in dynamics. Sometimes we don't really see Gen Z or teenage dynamics a lot on television, whereas they're all around us. I mean, the population is more young people than older people. So I think those kind of shows and those kind of narratives is ultimately what will frame the things that we watch later.
You are totally correct. So this one is going to kind of segue us into some talent. So now let's talk about rewriting the playbook from the performers and cultural lens. And this one is for Folu. Yes. When you hear the phrase rewriting the TV playbook, what does that look like for you as a talent and media personality?
The script is your Bible.
Yeah.
The dialogue is so important. Fun fact, Dami and I worked together on Skinny Girl in Transit. I produced season 1 of Skinny Girl in Transit. And I remember even when we were making the decision internally with Jade, we loved the dialogue. It was such a big thing because if the dialogue isn't right, what you're going to end up with is very melodramatic performance. And I think all of us who have watched films or have watched TV shows, we're like, relax now, what's this thing who talks like this in real life? There is this weird hybrid between what we imagine the emotion should look like and how it's being presented. So the other thing as a performer, what you're really trying to do is remember that telling this story is about action. It's not really about the words. The words will frame the context of what is happening in a person's life. When you're living your life, you rarely ever rehearse the speech you are going to give. Now, like I want everyone to just think of how you're sitting, how you're looking, and what that's communicating. That's my job as a performer. To really just internalize, to look at all the cha-cha-cha-cha-cha and be like, okay, but what does this really mean? There's a TV show on Netflix called Baby Farm. Has anyone seen Baby Farm? Cool. So I play a reporter in Baby Farm. Did anyone see that reporter? All right, she's fantastically annoying. But she didn't come up that way on the script. I didn't think she was particularly annoying on the script. She was meant to be like a throwaway character. But when you start, as a performer, you start crafting the world that this girl comes from, because she just wants to break the story. There's nothing that's more important in life to her than breaking the story, because breaking the story means you have more money, you have more relevance, you are looking at all these people that they're showing them on TV. Who cares about them on TV? What I'm going to show you is the reality. That was literally where I went to. And so I remember I also auditioned for 2 different characters. I auditioned for joytotheworld.com, but I also auditioned for the character that Kiki played. And I'll be honest with you, I just wanted Joy. I did not want, if they offered me Kiki's role, I was about to be like, I don't want that, that's not the one I want. And that's really what I think as a performer you really want to focus on. There's what the writer gives you, which will inspire you, but there's really understanding the character. Another thing, it's not a TV show, but it's a film, Red Circle. The first time I read Red Circle, I said no to the project. I'm so happy I eventually said yes, but I said no because when I read the first draft, I was like, who be this girl? Who be this babe? There wasn't any there seemed to be no motivation for what she was doing. And I think if anyone out here is thinking of being a performer and you're looking at scripts, or you're a producer and you're looking at scripts, I think that's something to really pay attention to, because your audience is going to recognize the pretense of action versus the reality of action. Your audience is more intelligent than sometimes we give ourselves credit for. And again, like you both mentioned, there's such a diversity of human experience when it comes to being Nigerian or being African. There's no one way or one type, but we all recognize emotion. And if there's one thing Nigerians are great at, from age 2, we know how to assess people. You come out on the road, they don't look at you like this. We can gauge whether you have money, whether you don't have money, whether you have sense, whether you don't have sense, whether they whine me, whether you're not whining me. And I think more and more we're seeing the reality of that come out in performances.
Yes. A lot of our young viewers are completely changing on how we, consume content. They want to see it now, like it's now, it's always on. So you live in the intersection from TV and digital. So how has the Gen Zs and the millennials shifted our viewing habits?
Social media has gradually and dramatically evolved over time. And its evolution has also made how we consume content change as well. So before we had Vine. Vine, you watch 5-second content, just 5 seconds, and you're conveying your message, you're hitting your point in 5 seconds. Instagram came out and it moved to 15 seconds, and then to 30 seconds, and then to a minute, and then over and beyond, So what this has inherently done is it's made people like me figure out how to tell stories within 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, from start to finish. I like to produce content like it's film, right? So dramatic pauses here, cinematic music there, and I've had to learn how to cram all of that within a minute and a half. So what this does is other content creators create like that, and that has now made a lot of us look for film-like content on social media. So a lot of people don't watch stuff on Netflix or YouTube again. They just find the small clips on social media, and they've watched the whole story. Some content creators break down one full movie into 30 seconds or 45 seconds or 1 minute and a half, and it's right there for you to watch. So we don't even go and bother watching the film again. So this is what the digital space does. For me as an actor, I do more of content creation than acting, right? So I can speak more in digital content creation than acting. I know personally as a consumer, I like to watch film. I really like to watch film, right? Whatever it is, cartoons, anime, film, everything. So I'm different. I'll just go and watch. But other people, I think I've noticed that they don't have that attention span anymore. It's very, very tiny, and you have to do your thing within 5 seconds to keep their attention, which is a struggle. It's a huge struggle trying to tell a story to somebody who's scrolling. It's just, okay, my name is Pass. Oh, yeah, hi guys, Pass. You have to shout or be naked or pretend to be trying to be naked to get somebody that. You have to do something very dramatic to get that attention. And so for film is different. You start with 20th Century Fox, this production house, that production house, based on a true story, 30 minutes before you now get to the point. It's a different dynamics with film. With content, you're not doing any of that. You are starting, you're ending quickly. So I feel like social media has changed how we consume content because a lot of us aren't patient enough to get to the point. We just want it hard and fast. That's it.
However, I still think something that I think Folu said about authenticity, I think people still want authentic storytelling. I think if you tell a great story that's obviously well written, that's authentic, that's the real, people will go find that thing to watch. I think the reason why people aren't flocking to theaters or watching TV as much is because it's mediocre. And like Folu said, you can sniff out mediocre from the first couple of frames. You're like, oh, this is not worth my time. It's why people are looking at YouTube or TikTok or on Instagram and getting those quick fixes, because in that minute, like someone grabs your attention and you're laughing, or you're in that moment with that reel. But if when people make authentic, I mean, last year, Wicked, like, people went to go see that movie. Gen Z, they were in theaters, like, not on their phones, watching Wicked. K-pop Demon Hunters, same thing. This weekend, Wicked for Good comes out in the US. Lines of young people waiting to get into the theater to go watch Wicked. So I still firmly believe in authentic storytelling. When people put their hearts and souls into creating content, now TV and film, that's real, authentic, relatable, people will go see it. But I think because we're in this moment in the world, again, social media, Instagram, TikTok, that delivers more of those quick hits, and the studios aren't making, they want to make money and not making great programs. So I think that's why we actually have the issue. But when people tell great stories, just look at any film that has people, oh, out of the blue, we didn't expect it to do well. If you look at it, it's authentic, and there's something about it that really, really connects with people. And I think we all still want to find, I mean, why do we want to be entertained?
Yeah.
Why? Like, we want for a moment to forget about the world. We want to feel connected to other people. We want to feel seen. We want to be moved. And when kismet happens and someone is able to tell an authentic story, it really resonates. So I really do believe that there is, even though the landscape is changing and has changed and will keep changing, but I believe that if writers or creators make authentic content, it will resonate and connect with people. I truly believe that.
Wait, hold the mic, because I want to ask you, I want to know, in your opinion, because you represent talent,
Yes.
do you believe streamers are helping or challenging local broadcasting?
First of all, the world has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the tech companies that's where the money is. And they are helping by, pumping money into, like, productions, which obviously helps the economy of the local place or wherever they're filming. But I think it's also eroded, like, the traditional broadcast model, which has not kept up with the times. But if NTA or Arise makes a great program, people will go and find it there, which goes back to the authenticity of the storytelling. So, but because it's a capitalist model, they just want to make money. They just pump out half-baked ideas. Let's just cast anybody, and let's just shoot it, and they will watch it. And it's why I stopped. I started protesting I'm like, oh, I will not watch something that I know is bad. I will not do it, because it's a waste of my time, and time is money, as I say. I'm like, no. I won't. If something is great, I will put my money behind it. I will tell everybody and their mother to go see it. I will, because I know I'm only one person, but if we all sort of did that, and it will like, what's the word I'm looking for? It would tell the people who are buying, the buyers, that that the audiences are waking up to that they're not just spending their money on crap. Yeah. They would spend their money on things that are great and that are authentic and that are real and that and because people actually want that.
If you do not like a product, if you don't like a film, if you don't like a series, stop clicking on it.
Don't watch it.
It throws off because what you're telling people is that you like, this is great, the quality is fine, but we love to hate watch. Yeah. We'll go say, hey, you said what? But that also tells us that honestly, we just like emotions. If the emotion is coming across right, it's why, so even though I know there's short form content, I'm a recent TikToker, shout out to my advanced age, but do you know my favorite content on TikTok is story time. I like gist. You're like, tell me some more. What? Ooh.
It's the verticals, the
No.
short form content.
Listen, but some of it isn't that short. It's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what I listen to when I'm getting ready in the morning. I'm like, I want to know. Authentic storytelling. Humans are, we are low-key emotional vampires. We consume emotion. That's why we love reality TV.
This is a brief segue, but there's a 26-part series on TikTok called The Danish Deception about a Nigerian woman who gets bamboozled by a Danish man, and he owes her like $300,000, and it's crazy. And it should be made into a TV show.
I gotta go watch that.
Because where does a Danish man scam a Nigerian woman? It's like insane. 26 parts. I watched everything. Very, very ashamed of myself.
No, don't be ashamed. By the way, there was something about that story that grabbed your attention.
100%.
It was related. Not that you've been scammed though, but there was something about that premise and that you're like, oh, I have to know what happens. So this is like, I think every artist, the actors I work with, they want to work on things that they can sort of express like authentic emotions in, because when there's like, we can all spell bullshit, excuse my language, from the minute he walks in, right? Like we can all see it. And it's the same thing for a television show or a film. When a filmmaker just just vomit something on screen, or when an actor is just so you're like, oh boy, this is not real now. You can tell, and then that turns you off, and then you come back to your phone. But the Danish guy and the Nigerian, you're like, oh, tell me more.
Most of the web series that most people watch and love, I wrote, or story. So you come from Skinny Girl in Transit, Rumor Has It, Men's Club, it came from my laptop. But you see, the thing is this. Nollywood does not appreciate writers. Neither do they also think writers are important. And I'll tell you why I say so. Nollywood spends so much money making sure things look good. And it's a Nigerian factor because people are so interested in the outward outlook of stuff, they forget the inward. And you can see it from, just even regular church goers. You go to church, they tell you to do good things. You come outside, beggar say, oh, please give me 5 naira. Say, come on, get out. Don't stay my whites. So it's the inwardness of it. So I'll tell you this. If you give a writer 100,000 naira, you tell the person to write a story because you don't think writers are important enough to pay them well enough, right? Don't expect that writer to be researching whether Ogun, war armor or not. You're going to take what you get, dear. If you're going to carry Excalibur, the sword, that's what you're going to carry in that place. Yeah, you're going to take what I wrote because you gave me 100K. That 100K now, half of it I've used to buy petrol for Jen, to on my internet, to do research. That's mad. Now, the thing is this. What people don't understand is, and this is one of the things that when Netflix came that made me happy, they basically said, you see, writers, they're here. They told us before they would change a writer, they would change production and acting before they change a writer. Because writing is the foundation. Without writers, there's no Nollywood. It doesn't exist. And I think one of the reasons, because a lot of people ask me, how did you get into Netflix? Who called you? I'm not going to lie to you. I was sitting in my house when someone called me. And the reason I was called, the head of a particular Netflix department went to someone's house and they were watching Skinny Girl in Transit. And the person just said, love the dialogue. Like, this is, that the person that wrote the dialogue knows how to write. You should contact the person. And that's how they called me. I don't know anybody from Adam. But you see, the thing is, we've gotten to a point, and I'm not going to tell you that, oh, writers are fantastic. It's just that Nollywood, no. We also are in a vicious cycle or circle, whichever one it is, where nobody is bettering themselves because they don't feel the need to, because there's no motivation to better themselves. But like, bruh, and the truth is, you know, the local content you were asking for, I'll tell you this. And I'll refer to K-dramas because I'm a big K-drama person. And I've been watching K-drama since 2007 or 2008. So I've been in K-drama before K-drama entered streaming anything. What people don't understand, Korean drama is on their local TV. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It comes out, and that's why when you watch K-drama on Netflix, they can't give you the entire thing because it's coming out weekly at home. So they have to follow it up. And I'll tell you, I wish we had somebody that worked in like NTA here. And I'll tell them this because I grew up on all them checkmates and all those stuff. We had TV. We really did. You know, corruption does a number on us, but we had TV. And if the Nigerian government were able to relinquish money because they do not need to use TV to grow capital. They just need to drop money. If you're able to take that budget and drop money for someone who's able to give content, and then the content keeps getting better, it's a cycle that grows things. Right. You get people who want to learn more, who want to be better, who want to do better. Because to be honest, I want to tell fantastic stories. But the truth is, one of the reasons I said I was going to direct and own my own production company is I'm also tired of writing fantastic stories for people who end up shooting the fantastic stories in ways that, and you know, when stories don't work, when film does not work, they don't used to say, they'll start, who wrote this? But when it works, wow, the director is so good. You see writers, we're going through a lot. The director, wow. The actor, wow, fantastic. Nobody even care. In fact, I'll tell you this. People don't even invite writers to premieres. Yeah. Wow. Premieres. Wow, bruh. Insane. Do you know how many? I was just telling them this afternoon that, do you know how many times I go out and they say, oh, you are the Dami? Yeah, because I'm stuck in my house. Wow. They don't even invite you to premieres. They're not even giving you VIP tickets. Wow. They're not putting you, the only time in my life that they invited me to a premiere and put me in a car, like driver came and picked me up, was when I rose far from home. Wow. It took Netflix coming in here for them to invite me to a premiere and for them to call me on stage to come and collect applause. Because that's standard, like in the US, you know, the writers are like kings and queens because without a writer, actors don't have words to say, and directors don't have a film to direct. Crew won't know what to light or what sets to build. It's the writers. Yeah. You see, when you want, it's like Folu said, it's a it's a producer's problem, and I'll tell you why. When you want to put stuff like an ad in, let's use Men's Club, yeah. So Men's Club, the boys are always in the bar, yeah? Best thing to do is, after season 1, you walk into like a Diageo and tell Diageo, look, let me tell you something. You're going to put your drink on that table and you're going to give me money for it, yeah? And I get my writer to write it in a fantastic way. Because guess what? You have let me think off the top of my head now. Say the boys are sitting there and everything, and then, one of the characters says something, and it's just like, guy, look, man, I've had a stressful day. I just need something to step me down. And the person says, I got you something. Go and bring me that bottle. They just brought it in today. The bottle, this whiskey, when I tried it, the smoothness, the Canadian, I tell you for real, take it in and say, oh, ma, makes me feel better. Now I can tell you about my day. Do you know something? That's an ad. But it was written in, and it was thought of, well thought out. But now you have something that, let's do a part 2 because part 1 was, we need to do a part 2. But guess what? That part one gonna say, oh, with the millions of people that watch it, how much did they make? Didn't make much. Now you're not going to write part 2. You shoot part 2. But before you even, in fact, you've written part 2. You want to shoot part 2. You've started maybe like 2 days, 3 days have happened. Someone now calls you and says, oh, Mo, are you doing part 2? I'm doing part 2. Sure, you put my products inside. We'll give you money. Or maybe producer goes and says, look, I need money to shoot part 2. Bring your products and we'll put it inside. Give me money. Now, when you bypass writers, and do what you want to do to make money, it's going to look like you did what you wanted to do to make money. That's what happens. Because what you're going to do is, when someone is reading the script and saying, okay, so you say, you just come with Coke. When you are saying that thing, please, you'll be drinking this, okay? Did you? So they'll be saying, I went through such a tough time today. Who died? So died. They'll just... because you didn't write it in. Do you understand? Yeah. So, and as I said, we don't take writers serious because guess what? If you pay your writers well enough, do you know what could have happened? Coke could have called you. Anybody can call you from Adam. But guess what you do? You pick up the phone and call your writer and say, guy, lady, you're going to have to help me amend one scene. What is the scene? They brought so and so. So your writer would do the hard work of sitting down and trying to figure out how to put that thing in a script that is already written. And you have to put it in a way that nobody, you know people don't like ads. That's what I don't know why, because I did advertising. I love ads, But people don't like feeling like, are you mugging me? You are selling me stuff? Why? They get upset. I don't know why. Why are you upset? But they don't want it to seem like, this is an insult, So you need to write it in a way that is not an insult. For instance, Korean drama, you people know Kopiko now. I'm sure some people didn't even know Kopiko was Korean. What is going on? Is it not Coffee Sweet we're licking that time? Korean drama. Someone would just say, just need to relax. So I know what's going on. They open Kopiko like tablets. Bah. Even me, God said, Kopiko will now be sweeting me. I will pass about now. I want to lick Kopiko. Why? I don't even like coffee. But now I'm thinking of licking Kopiko because I'm stressed, But again, you have to go back to writing. If everybody, I think one thing is people don't realize that making film or TV is like building a car. The person that does tire is not the person that does exhaust. But if you don't have exhaust, your car will be making noise. And if you don't have one tire, it does not even need 4. One missing tire, your car cannot move well. But the thing is, we keep trying to paint our car the shiniest color. Whether it's doing to super on the road is not really the car's business. The car is still going to move, even with tutupa and smoke. But does it look nice? And that's what has happened. It's just an unfortunate, because I think what we need to do is learn how to take opportunities so well that if you make a hit the first time, the second time, you want to knock it out the park so that they will beg you for part 10. Like Fast and the Furious. I know people get upset. I don't know why. They have my money until I die. Till I die. Okay, they went to space. And so what? Is it your goddamn business? So? Okay, they wore scuba diving suits inside. And so what? So what? Elon Musk still wants to go to space. So they went there first. It's not your business. Oh, it was a street racing. Now they are all involved in crime. And they are FBI and CIA. I don't care what they are. They have my money because now I need to know what happened next time because Jason Momoa has come. And I need to know who the villain will be the next time. I don't care. So that's what my own is. You have to be able to mix creating, because creating stuff is great, guys, but money is great too. You have to be able to balance it. And God knows, if I ever hit anything like Fast and Furious, guys...
Sorry, so I want to...
Go ahead, Ella.
So I want to just buttress what she said. I create content on a very small scale, right? 2 minutes, 1 minute 30, sometimes 3, 4, 5 minutes. Small scale. But if you check the credits on any of my work, you would see how many people are involved. I don't write. Writing is not my strength. I can give ideas. In fact, 90% of the stuff I make, they're my ideas. But do I write them? No. I will not even make that mistake. Because the minute I say, okay, that's one, taking a lot of work, and two, it's from me, I don't think I'll do a good job, and so I'll give it to somebody who would do a good job. And that's why I met you, Nicole. I'm like, I want another writer. And Nicole introduced me to one fantastic writer that has been writing my work since last year. So I never, ever, ever underestimate the power of great writing, because you can have a shoddy production, but if the writing is fantastic, it might cover up some things. So writing is the epitome of good content. That is it.
Nicole, which emerging technologies will have the biggest impact on African TV within the next 2 to 3 years?
Easier question.
Hey, shout out to EWA. They want to
yeah,
make sure you guys got great insight.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know a lot about AI or emerging technologies per se, but I am a fan of ChatGPT. Understanding how to use AI as a thought partner, as a collaborator, as a research partner, and knowing that AI does make mistakes. So just having that and knowing how to use it properly is so, so important. And it can refine. You just have to understand how to prompt it properly. So there's some things I tell writers, for example, it's like maybe you have a statement and then you say something like, turn this passage from passive writing to active writing. And then when ChatGPT does do that, you then now have to see what an active sentence looks like, what proper description looks like. And so using it almost as a learning tool, as opposed to using it to generate ideas. And I think if we use it to generate ideas, we're going to fall into those traps of stereotypical content. And then just a quick segue to what Elo said about writing. I think that's a you thing, Elo. And I think from your content, it's very clear that you have elevated content in terms of narrative, and even where it goes, I'm like, what is happening? And then I'll see the end. So I think that's a you thing, but generally the standard is that writers don't necessarily matter. And I think the way they butcher scripts is actually the reason why I haven't written a commissioned script in 5 years, just because producers will take your script and they'll massacre it. And then, like you said, nobody says, oh, the director or the producer ruined this film. They're going to say the writer ruined it and the actor. But usually who wrote this? Because I've been dragged. And I'm like, wait, I didn't have anything to do with this. But there you go.
I love what Nicole said about using ChatGPT, or using AI basically as a partner rather than the source, because it's not real. AI can't think for itself. AI only learns from already regurgitated content. And I think the biggest fear that I have about AI is that people will stop using their God-given brains and the God-given creativity to generate new thoughts and new ideas. I mean, thank God for mobile phones and but there was a time when I could memorize hundreds of numbers and just people's phone numbers and just say, but now I can't because it's all on my cell phone. And I just want to encourage all the creatives in here, all the writers especially, to use it as a partner rather than the source, because God gave us these amazing brains, and we can think original thoughts. AI can't. AI can only take other people's original ideas and try to make something new out of that. But something brand new, fresh, will only come from the well, from your well. And if there's anything if it's nothing else that you remember today, I would love you all to just like remember that God gave us these amazing creativity, and to spend time cultivating, in spite of any opposition or lack of funding or lack of a place to sort of tell your story or put your content out there. Keep making. Nicole, I encourage you to write those scripts again, because you have something, you have a voice that somebody needs to hear, and because a day will come that somebody will want to make something that you wrote, and you need to have it ready, because people are going back to, little by little, they're going back to, okay, what did I used to love? People are going back to those things. People are going back to, every day, all TV shows are getting back on Netflix or Showmax, and people are watching those shows because they were made during a time where nobody was, people weren't like using AI. It was original, it was authentic. So please, I encourage you, do not give up on your gift, because do not give your gift over to AI. Use it as a partner to create.
Yeah, agreed. And I just want to, I still write, that's all I do. But I don't write for hire, and I don't write for rubbish Nollywood producers who want to give you 100K. So, I don't know, I feel like Dami has made all of us very open. But I just don't, so I wouldn't do that. And so when they call and they're, hey, can I have a script? I need it in 2 weeks. Bruh, no,
This is the problem across almost all the departments in Nollywood. The reason why I talk about structure and funding is because, I'll give an example, Crime and Justice Lagos, there are only 6 episodes that exist on Showmax. We took 2 months to shoot it, and they have refused to do any other thing like it. I have never, in my almost decade plus of acting, or decade of acting in Nollywood, been given up to 2 weeks per episode to shoot anything. They don't give us time because it costs money. It costs money. If you want to see the standard, there's certain actors that you love, that you know are great performers, great actors. First of all, you have to pay me a certain amount of money to even agree to talk to you. That's first, because it costs money. And the reality is, most producers do not have enough money to shoot the very ambitious projects that they want to shoot. But do we have the financial discipline to say, I cannot shoot this to the level it deserves to be shot. Let's scale everything down and film something else, or get a partner. But I also understand that investors in Nigeria do not know where they're going to get their money back from. So they don't want to give you money, because what's the distribution channel? There are wicked problems. Africa has wicked problems, and the reason why Nollywood itself has such tough issues is because the entire ecosystem of Nigeria is challenging. How many people feel like they're being paid enough for any job that they do in Nigeria? So let's even leave Nigeria and let's look on a global level, the financial chaos that's happening in the entire world. We're talking about emerging technology. We need light. If we solve power alone in Nigeria, it's game over for everybody in the world, I promise you. Because look at what we are doing with generator. And the generator is not 24 hours because we cannot afford it. We need money.
And on that note, we are currently out of time, so give a round of applause to our amazing panelists. But before they go, I want them all to just say one little motto or words you live by or inspiration to anybody in the audience today.
I think for me, it would be, obviously with everything we've said, we're all passionate and everybody faces their own struggles when it comes to their creative parts. But I think the most important thing is, we discussed it in the Story Lab that I facilitated yesterday. It is to continue to polish what you're working on. Panels are great, and it's good to have all these discussions, but do you have something in your hand to give when somebody shows up? and what do you have? How excellent is it? So I think that we need to spend time as creatives polishing our work so that when the opportunity knocks, you have something to give.
Yeah, I've always said add value. Like, you need to level up, you need to skill up in any project that you're doing, in any office that you're working in, whatever capacity you work or you show up to the fullest. Stop looking at what the problem is. Nobody cares. Sometimes we have a blame culture, and it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you are responsible for your own life. So in whatever it is you're doing, if you're carrying coffee, for goodness sake, be the best coffee carrier. Don't tell them in the office, the reason I did not is because I don't care. Me too, I have my problems, I don't care. If you're going to show up, show up. If you don't want to show up, sit at home. It's very distressing for employers of labor, and one day you will be employers of labor. You probably are now. And how annoying is it when you ask somebody, okay, you said you want job. I've given you job opportunity. Then 2 seconds later, you turn around, actually, I don't really like the reason why you have not done anything. You haven't achieved anything yet. And from the jump, you're entitled. Nobody owes you anything. You add value, because if you add value to the situation where you are, you add value to your life. That is how they will cite you, like Dami Dollars over here, and say, actually, you come and work with us.
Not as you heard her calling me Dami Dollars, think there's money. I'm looking for money as well. Just want to put it out there. But I'll say this. I don't know if I'll say it's two things, but if you're planning on being a writer and everything, because I realize that lots of people think they can write and they think that's their talent, but not necessarily, because I think it's also like one of the easiest ways people think they can get into Nollywood. But I'll say this, whatever it is that you want to do, if writing is what you want to do, you have to be the best you can be for yourself. I think a lot of times people don't want to scale up or level up themselves because they don't, how do I explain? Yeah. And then you expect to be paid to level up yourself. That's wild, because to be honest, nobody really does owe you anything. You have to put in the work. I know how long it took me to read scripts of films that I love and to sit down and watch the movie all over again to realize that the script I read and the film I watched seem a bit different. And to figure out the differences, you have to work hard at stuff you want to do, and you have to make sure that you are not just about being authentic to yourself, but you are standing on business in stuff that you believe in so that you can push what it is that you've worked hard at. If not, especially as a writer, when someone comes to you and says, oh, you're a writer, what work have you done? That's one of the toughest things, because as writers, your work is something that's been produced, because you'll be scared to give something you've written that hasn't been produced to somebody. You are the easiest person to steal from, basically. So you have to make sure that on all fronts and bases, you are giving it your all, and also making sure you're smart enough to be in the business. Because like me, I'm not a business person, I'm such a creative, so I always have to refer to management and all that, because I suck at business. I'm the person you can push to write stuff for free, which is why I have management, and I will not collect 100K in Jesus' name. Amen.
For me, I'd say mediocrity is everywhere, right? Mediocrity is everywhere. If you want to be out there now, be mediocre. But if you want to be out there the longest, avoid it. Be creative, be true to yourself, and be different. You will not stand out if you're the same. You can have 1 million followers, and the person that has 200,000 followers and is doing some amazing work would be there longer than you, would stand out better than you. So don't try to fit in. In fact, struggle to stand out. And that is how you would find your own self. You'd create an identity for yourself, and that's where you find your own brand. That's it. Coca-Cola is not Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola tastes like Pepsi. Do you get? So avoid mediocrity, be as creative as you can be, and put in the work. If you're a creative person, if you're talented and you don't put in the work, it's going to show. If you don't have talent and you are hardworking, trust me, you are better than somebody that has talent and doesn't do anything with it.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. I always say it's important to stay teachable, be a lifelong learner, be teachable, and check your ego. I think particularly for men, African men, we can be very like, who are you? I think ego sometimes kills creativity. So I would encourage everybody to check your ego and stay teachable and be a lifelong learner.
Everyone give a round of applause for Primetime Real Time Rewriting African TV. I'm your moderator, JTasha St Cyr, and this is EWA 2025.